Buzz, 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 and welcome back to the Yellowjackets Hive. I'm your host, Emily, and today I thought we would do sort of, I guess you could say, a deep dive into the world of Callie Sadecki and her role on the show so far and what could possibly be next for her coming forward. Now, hi, NRB. While Callie wasn't exactly a fan favorite in season one, she certainly came into her own in season two and added her role in the show added quite a bit, like with her being involved with Syracuse and the mess she unintentionally created by dating him. So, little fun fact, we actually know Callie's birthday. Hi, Angie. We know this thanks to Misty's trusty little file that she had on everybody because Callie's birth certificate was in there. So Callie's birthday is December 19th, 2004, which would make her 16, almost 17 on the show. I'm saying almost 17 because if I'm correct, I'm assuming that we haven't reached December in the show yet in the adult timeline. So we know that Sarah Desjardins was promoted to series regular ahead of season 3, which indicates that her role from here on out is only going to grow. But in what way? I will explore a couple possibilities for that later. Callie very much came off as a bratty teenager in the first season. She really fit that role really well, and you could tell that her relationship with Shauna was extremely distant. And I think part of the reason that was why was because we know that Shauna saw Jackie in Callie because of the comments that Jackie's parents made at the brunch when they said, "We see so much of her in Callie." And Shauna didn't really like that comment very much. I think that it's made Shauna resent her own daughter a little bit in a way, just because she was so envious of Jackie when Jackie was alive. It's very clear that, like I said, that Shauna and Callie don't have the best relationship when the show starts. Things change as the course of the show goes on, and you see their relationship grow in a weird way, but it definitely grows. And another reason would probably be because of Wilderness Baby. Shauna admitted to Lottie in season 2 that she's never really fully allowed herself to bond with Callie because of the first baby out in the wilderness. This really closed Shauna off from forming any kind of a relationship with Callie. She kept her at arm's length for pretty much her whole life. I mean, she shows interest, but she never allows Callie to truly come in and shows who she really is. And I mean, that's how Shauna is with everybody. Callie is no different, but you would hope that it would be different because it's her daughter, and unfortunately, it's not. So I figured that we could kind of go through what Callie's role has been in the show in both seasons so far. And in season 1, we know Callie doesn't know much about Shauna's experience in the wilderness and just how much that it shaped her into the adult that she is that we meet in 2021. But there's a lot of holes in Callie's mother's story. And although we don't see Callie in this scene, our first introduction into the fact that Shauna has a daughter is when we see Shauna masturbating in Callie's bed in the pilot episode, looking at a picture of Callie and Kyle, which was really weird and disturbing, but to me it came off as like a territorial kind of thing. Like, this is my house, I do what I want, where I want, when I want. And I don't think that she was doing it wishing she was Callie, if that makes sense. And Callie really brushes off attempts that Shauna makes early in the first season to spend time with her. Like, Shauna asked her to stay home, watch a movie, and Callie's response is like, "Mom, it's Friday night." Like, she doesn't really want any part of it, which is normal for teenagers, but that's Shauna's attempt at trying, and she doesn't try any harder than that. Because she doesn't want to get her feelings hurt. So she puts in a little effort to say that she did it, but not enough to open herself up to disappointment, if that makes sense. And Then we see Shauna call Callie to take the meat out of the freezer, which I thought that seemed so funny because Callie's sitting there vaping away and she's like, "What does it look like?" And she's like, "What do you mean? What does it look like?" It's a little refrigerator on top of a big refrigerator. And it just shows that Callie really doesn't have any, they haven't really given her responsibilities, made her do anything, made her try to find her way in the world. You can tell that she doesn't have a lot of guidance from either Shauna or Jeff. They really haven't given her the attention that she deserves as their kid. They've both been kind of wrapped up in themselves, and Shauna particularly, because she struggled so much since they left the wilderness, even though she struggles internally and doesn't really show it. But that's really made it really hard for her to have relationships with anybody, including her own daughter. And halfway through the season, Blood Hive, episode 5 of season 1, we see Callie tell her mom that she's going to go into the city with her friends for the night. And Shauna tells her that she will not be heading into the city because she will be the one handing out the candy to all the kids. And this is when Callie makes a joke about how it's not cool to sit on the porch in your 90s character costume. And Shauna says, "The people who matter recognize Daria." That's one of my favorite lines from the first season. But after this exchange, Jeff says to Shauna not to be so hard on Callie, and Shauna says, "Excuse me, our daughter is an asshole." And I also love that moment. And she doesn't really understand why she's the only one who thinks that there should be consequences for their actions. I mean, Shauna thinks this. And this is the same night that Shauna and Adam go to the club to party for Halloween. And as we all know, Callie runs into, well, Callie doesn't run into, I should say, Shauna sees someone dressed up in a Yellowjackets soccer uniform and she imagines that it's Jackie. But we all know that it was actually Callie. And to her surprise, when she turns around, it is Callie, and she's wearing she's wearing Jackie's soccer uniform. And this was quite the shock for Shauna. She immediately realized that there was something wrong with Callie, and Callie was on ecstasy. She was honest about that. She answered her mom's question when she said, "What are you on?" And she said, "Just ecstasy." And Adam asks if he can give them a ride home, and Shauna obviously kindly declines to that offer. And then Shauna takes Callie somewhere to sober up, and Callie very casually asks her mom, "So, is that your lover? He's kind of hot." And she goes into the fact that Shauna has that whole Yellowjackets thing going for her, buzz, buzz, buzz. And Shauna kind of gets a little defensive and is like, "Well, he doesn't know anything about that." And Callie laughs, asking if Adam has the internet, which I don't know about you guys, but Adam Adam has always left me with a lot of questions for obvious reasons. I mean, I know he was intended to leave us with a lot of questions, but I still to this day wonder if he really was just some guy. The back tattoo that he had was just so particular with the mountains and the circles and the symbolism and all the vast amount of artwork that he had of Shauna was just alarming that he would have come up with all of that artwork within that matter of time. Like if he really was have supposed to have just met her, knew nothing about her before that was just extreme in my opinion. And the Poconos reference, no, like if you did know anything about her, why would you ever reference going to the cabin in the woods? Like that's just so weird. I don't know. But I digress. So Callie asked Shauna when she fell out of love with Jeff, and Shauna explains it's not that simple. We have baggage. And Callie's like, "Yes, I know, Jackie, but you never talk about her." And this is when Shauna tells Callie that she's actually wearing Jackie's soccer uniform and not her own, and that Jackie's parents gave it to Shauna for her 40th birthday so that they could help her remember Jackie, as if Shauna hasn't done the better part of her life remembering. And this is the first time that from when we're introduced to Callie, that we really see a like sympathy for her mom, if that makes sense. You can tell that she genuinely feels bad. She's starting to understand that these things really had a strong impact on her mom in a way that she may not comprehend yet, because she is young and she still does have a lot of life to live. But at the same time, she was around the same age that her mom was when all that happened to her. So maybe it opened her eyes in that sense. But she doesn't stay nice for long. The next morning is when Callie attempts to blackmail Shauna into giving her more privileges, such as Ubers into the city at no cost, and that Callie basically doesn't have a curfew anymore. And this is probably one of my favorite monologues that Shauna gives for the whole show. It's when she asks Callie if Callie's ever heard of mutually assured destruction, and Callie says, "I basically invented it." And Shauna goes into this long spiel about how if Callie really wants to go through with this, she's going to pay the consequence for it, and her college fund is going to go to funding their divorce, and that she is going to have a new cramp in her style on the weekends because she's going to be spending her Friday nights alone eating cold pizza in the couch that she knows that her dad cries into. And she basically is like, but the ball is in your court, so you can do what you want with this information. And they couch your dad cries was the best line. Yeah, that was a good one. And so they call Jeff over, and she's like, Callie has something that she wants to tell you. And Callie's like, I got high in the city and I freaked out and mom had to come and pick me up. And Jeff is like, you start saying, like, I'm really disappointed in you. And Callie walks away. And I don't think he actually calls her an asshole in that moment, but he references the fact that Shauna said that. And they were in agreement that she kind of is a brat and she needs to be put in her place. So a little later on after this was when Shauna had Adam spend the night, and they were almost caught by Jeff that morning. When Adam came in and they started hooking up in the living room, his ID fell out onto the floor in the living room, and Callie happened to be the one that found it, and she picked it up. So Callie confronts Shauna after she discovers Adam's ID on the living room floor and asks Shauna about it, and she's like, Jesus Christ, Mom, you let him into her house? Hey, Faye. And she also questions, if he is an artist, then why does he have no online presence? And she shows Shauna on the computer. He has no Instagram. He has nothing. If he's an artist and he has a studio, then why doesn't he have any proof of that? That's really weird in today's age where everybody is on the internet in some way, shape, or form. And Shauna doesn't really have an answer. And Shauna goes digging after this, as we all know, and she realizes that Adam lied about the whole Pratt thing, which is what facilitates her to go over there and question him, and then he ends up dead. But in the finale of season 1, after Adam was killed, Jeff and Shauna are sitting in the living room, and they're having a good old time with each other, just joking around about getting a cat and putting the cat in the chili. Like, that's all normal. And Callie comes in and sits down with them, and up on the news comes the missing persons report for Adam, which obviously causes Callie to look really concerned and nervous because she knows that her parents have something to do with it in some way. And that is where we kind of leave off with the Sadeckis in season 1. And then we jump into season 2, which, as we all know, in the adult timeline, the time goes by so much faster. It's just so much more condensed. It's a lot less time than we're seeing out in the wilderness. we're seeing, like I said before, I'm being really generous here, maybe a month, maybe we've seen a month tops in the adult timeline. I don't even think it's been a month. I think it's been like maybe 3 weeks, because we've had Halloween and the election, which are very close together. But in the first episode of season 2, Shauna enters the living room and Callie's sitting with her boyfriend Kyle, and Shauna asks how they're doing, and Callie tells Kyle that he needs to go because she needs to study for her biology test, and he kind of like laughs at her and he's like, you can't be serious. This clearly isn't something that she does very often. And she tells him that he needs to stop being so clingy, which prompts Shauna to ask her if everything is okay between them, and Callie makes a joke saying she may have to dump him unless I get lucky and he just disappears. And Shauna asks Callie if there's anything that 2 weeks total. Yeah, okay. I knew it couldn't have been more, like I said, more than a month. It's been really, really condensed. And Shauna asks Callie if there's anything Callie wants to ask Shauna. And Callie responds by saying, is there anything that you want to tell me? And she refers to Adam's disappearance being on the news and says that it's really unfair to Jeff that he doesn't know what's going on and that Jeff deserves to know. And Shauna then responds that she's already told Jeff what happened, which causes Callie to backpedal, and she's like, oh my god, I can't believe you would do that to him. Like, that's so unfair of you. Even though Shauna literally did what Callie asked her to do, and then Callie backtracked and was like, no, not cool. And then not long after this is when we see Shauna and Jeff burn all of the evidence that they had in pertaining to Adam in their grill, and they catch the tree on fire in their backyard. And Shauna burns what, I don't know if I think she burned all her journals or if she just burned some of them, because those were like really important to her. So to burn them all, that would take a lot for, I mean, I don't know if I'd be able to do it. Those are crucial memories, and I mean painful memories, but memories all the same that you're going to have for the rest of your life. But Callie goes outside to the grill after they burn those things, and she discovers an unburnt piece of Adam's driver's license with his face still intact, and she pockets it. And that comes into play later, but I think she had copies of her journals. Okay. Yeah, I could get behind that. I don't want them to be gone because I mean, maybe they are gone, but I would have loved if they would have like released those journals for us to all read. That would have been so cool. I don't trust that Shauna tells the truth about certain things. Journals is one of them. Oh yeah, I don't think I trust Shauna at all, to be honest with you. I like her, but I don't trust her. And then in episode 2, Callie is at Kyle's and she's vaping, and he makes a comment about the frequency of her vaping, and she's like, well, what if I just want to vape until my head falls off? And she starts saying that her parents are assholes who don't care about her and they pay no attention to her, and her boyfriend kind of tries to frame that as a good thing and say like, well, maybe we can do whatever we want. And then like, this kid needs a clue, but in the next breath, he's like, do you want chocolate chip pancakes? And this causes her to promptly break up with him, and she leaves, which, you go, girl. I think I would have done the same thing. And in this, I'm pretty sure it was in the same episode, Shauna and Callie are in the kitchen when the doorbell rings, and Shauna comes face to face with Kevin Tan. And we then see Callie listen to Kevin Tan question Shauna about Adam, and things start to get dicey. So Callie starts her journey on being a good helper and comes into the living room, and she's like, we need enough time before it closes. And Shauna tells Kevin that it's a mall trip code red. And this kind of prompts Kevin to like be like, okay, well, if I have any more questions for you, I'll get in touch with you and we'll talk about it in the future. And Shauna's like, do I need a lawyer? And I feel like because she asked that question, that made her look so much more suspicious than it would have if she didn't. But after Kevin leaves, Shauna thanks Callie for covering for her, but Callie asks Shauna why she lied to the police. And Shauna claims that she lied because cops are sexist and they would have never believed that it was just an affair between the two of them. And Callie responds with, "So you lied to be feminist?" And Shauna says that she also did it to protect Jeff because the town would have looked at him a certain way if they knew that information, I think is what she was implying. And then Shauna's like, "Callie, cows." And Callie looks at her, and you can tell in that moment that Callie was really hoping for like a heartfelt moment between the two of them. And all it came down to was Shauna basically said, "If you're going to leave, use the back door, because if he's still watching, I don't want him to see you go." And you could see that she was so disappointed in that moment that her mom didn't take that time to be sentimental with her, and she looked deflated, and it made me that's when I really started to feel bad for her. She came into her own, like I said, in the second season, and it was this moment that it just like a light switch flipped on for me, I guess you could say. And the next that we see Callie is when she is at the bar with her friend Alana. And Alana and her are sitting there drinking, and then in walks this man, sits down at the bar, and he apparently was checking them out, and Alana essentially dares Callie to go flirt with the guy at the bar, who we all know is Sarah Kusa. And Callie says that she's going to go do it. And Alana says she was joking. He could be a psycho. Callie says he's doing a crossword puzzle. And Alana replies, "Well, serial killers do crossword puzzles." But Callie approaches him anyways and starts chatting with him. And they get into a conversation, and he tells her that his mother is leaving his father after 26 years of marriage, and he's helping her leave. And Callie kind of comments that she's kind of going through a similar situation where her yeah, the Sadeckis are the worst criminals. It's all Alana's fault. Yeah. You could blame it on her, I guess. And the fact that she was Callie's cover while Callie was spending all of her time with Saracusa too. But at the end of the conversation, he introduces himself as Jay. And as we all know, his name is not Jay. And Callie learns that a little bit later. But while Callie is meeting this guy, Shauna finds out from Alana's mom that Callie has not actually been spending all of her time at Alana's house. And this prompts Shauna to go through Callie's room at home, which she finds a condom, which I don't actually remember her finding a condom. So I need to do a rewatch. And she finds the burnt piece of Adam's ID, which she obviously keeps. And this prompts her to go to Callie's school and pick her up. And this is when we see her tell Callie to get in the van and that they're going to go somewhere fun. And Shauna drives her out into the middle of nowhere and has a chat with her, Tony Soprano style, about everything, and confronts her about knowing she hasn't been staying at Alana's. And Shauna asks if there's anything that she needs to know. And Callie tells Shauna that this is so much and asks Shauna if there's anything she needs to know, like why she had Adam's burned driver's license. And Callie tells Shauna that she's so over the secrets and point blank asks Shauna if her or Jeff were responsible for Adam's death. And this is when Shauna confesses and says that she did it because he was blackmailing her and her friends, and then says that isn't true. And then she tells Jeff that then she tells Callie that Jeff is actually the blackmailer. And the whole exchange is just so funny because Shauna is like trying to frame it as not as bad as it is. And that's when she's like, "Your dad isn't a bad person. Your dad is just a bad criminal," which is so true, as Chloe pointed out earlier too, the Sadeckis are just terrible, terrible criminals. But then after this, Shauna tells Jeff that she told Callie everything and that Callie is okay. And Jeff is kind of like appalled at the fact that Shauna just made Callie an accomplice to their crimes by telling her all this information. And I mean, yeah, and at the same time you don't want her involved and you don't want her knowing things, but you're literally involving her by telling her all of this stuff indirectly. That's a huge secret and a huge burden to ask a 16-year-old girl to keep. You killed someone and you just told her about it and you expect her to stay quiet. That, I don't know about you, but I was voted most talkative when I was in high school. So that would have been, oops, sorry guys. That would have been really hard for me to keep something like that to myself when I was 16 years old, if I found something like that out. But so, sorry, I lost my place. Okay. And then the next thing is we see Callie coming in the kitchen and she asks if she can help cook, and Jeff asks if she's going to Alana's that night, and Callie kind of comes clean and says that she's not going to be lying anymore. She wasn't going to Alana's, but it's not going to happen again. And the next scene that we see is Callie and Jay at the bowling alley, and they make a bet that if Callie gets a strike, that he has to kiss her. And he agrees to the bet. Callie proceeds to get a strike, and he says, "You hustled me." And she says, "Actually, I sexually hustled you." And she leans in for a kiss, as we see here, and he rebuffs her and says, "I want to take things slow. I have a history of screwing things up with people. I don't want to go any faster than we've been going." And at first Callie's kind of like, this is ridiculous, but then she kind of views him as like a nice guy. And this is when he says that he has to get up to use the bathroom, and the waitress comes over and brings the check, and she happens to lean over, looks and sees the name, sees that it says M. Saracusa, which she's like, that's a little weird. Glad she caught on quick enough to realize. Did a quick Google search, and not named Jay, that's for sure. Definitely a cop. You're on a date with a cop when your parents just killed someone, or when your mother just killed someone and your dad blackmailed your mom's friends for money. Not a good look. And so she, as they get in the car, she gets this like great idea to tell Saracusa that that Shauna was sleeping with Brandy, and that's who her dad or who her mom was having the affair with. When Callie gets home, she tells her parents about what happened and that she fixed the problem by saying that Shauna was sleeping with Randy. And to everyone's surprise, Shauna actually said that was a good idea and that they could go and they could like make this work somehow. So, which surprised me that Shauna was like on board with it. But hey, I guess when desperate times call for desperate measures, and we all know Randy will help at the drop of a hat, as we saw too. And then Callie's like, "So did I fix it?" And Shauna's like, "You did great." And then Shauna gets a phone call from Kevin Tan saying that her and Callie need to come down the station for questioning. Kevin questions Callie, and Callie puts on a sob story about how she shouldn't have trusted him and she was a virgin, and Jay told her that he loved her. And Kevin tells Callie that making false statements to the police is a chargeable offense, and Callie says, "Well, charge me then. We'll see who a jury believes, especially once they ask me to describe his weird ass balls." And afterwards, Callie tells Jeff and Shauna that she used Shauna's idea and that she thinks that it worked. And this is when we see Shauna kind of have that freak out moment and decides to go up to Lottie's compound and get away from everything to try to get herself out of trouble. I think surrounding Callie, many problems between her and Shauna is that Shauna keeps her in the dark. Shauna has up balls for a good reason, but letting Callie in will be so much better for them. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that 100%. Like mother, like daughter, Shauna lied about sleeping with Randy as his teen, too. That's so true. um, so, oh, there we go. So then after this, the police show up at the Sadecki household and Saracusa begins to go through Callie's room. And she gets her phone out, starts recording him, asking if he's going to take a sniff through her panty drawer, which I love the fact that she got that ding in on him because he is just such a creep. And to allow him to be the one to search her room, I feel like that's honestly a conflict of interest, in my opinion. You pretended that you were not a police officer with an underage girl, and now you're searching her room in her. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it should work for me. But so then, oh, and this was also when Saracusa made the comment about how I think when the jury sees that the psychopath apple doesn't fall far from the fucked up man-eating tree, in regards to Callie and Shauna. That was a good line in my opinion. And that was when they showed Jeff the pictures of Adam's autopsy photos and they told him that his tattoo was scraped off with a cheese grater. And Saracusa had some really good lines about Shauna having the skills to be able to actually cut up a person's body. I don't have them written down or anything like that, but the line, like, I really liked the lines a lot. They were good. And after the police leave, then Jeff and Callie have a heart-to-heart that night when they both couldn't sleep. And this was another moment for me that really made me feel for Callie, and I feel like it made a lot of things make sense to her. She was drinking beer, and Jeff is like, that's not going to help. And they get into a conversation, and Callie asks if she's like her mom, if she's seriously messed up. And this is when Jeff opens up, telling Callie that her mom has actually been through a lot, and he explains how Shauna lost a baby in the wilderness. And he tells her that she actually had a brother, and that it's Shauna's burden to bear and not hers. And you could tell in that moment that made Callie feel something for her mom that she had never felt before. And it explained a lot to her as to why their relationship is the way that it is. I think it made a lot click for her in that very moment. So Callie and Jeff make their way to Camp Green Pine after this, and they have a conversation in the car about how hard it is to disappear after you commit a crime. And Jeff is like, we can't even Google ourselves. Good old Jeff, always with the comedic relief. And then we see Callie walking around Camp Green Pine when she comes face to face with Saracusa, who asks her what she's up to. And she's holding the gun behind her back in this moment. And this is when Saracusa gets the phone call from Kevin Tan, even though it was really Walter, with the voice changing or whatever kind of app he was using in order to disguise his voice and make it sound like it was really Kevin on the phone when it wasn't, because Kevin was already dead by then. But he tells Callie that this isn't over, and he leaves. And then the next thing we see is Callie chasing, or not Callie, I'm sorry, the adult women chasing Shauna through the woods, when suddenly a bullet grazes Lottie's shoulder, and it's revealed to be Callie. And Shauna asks Callie to put the gun down. And I got a little scared in this moment. Like, it was crazy that Callie was actually willing to fire that gun to save her mom. Just given how tumultuous their relationship had been and the fact that she was witnessing all that, I can't imagine what was going through her brain when she was watching these women chase after her mom with knives. And Lottie asked Shauna if this is her daughter, and this is when Lottie declares that Callie is so powerful. And that's kind of the last that we see of her in season 2. We see her when Shauna reunites with her and Jeff after everything happens and tells Jeff that Natalie is dead. But that's really where things end for Callie in season 2, is after that confrontation. And it really makes me wonder what's next for her and what's going to come in season 3. Like I said, if I were her and I witnessed all that I witnessed at the end of season 2, I would have so many questions, and I would want to know, why were your friends chasing you with knives? Why were they wearing masks? Why are you in the middle of the woods? Why does this seem normal to all of you? The list goes on. Those are just the obvious ones that come off the top of my head. But will Shauna actually be honest with her and give her those answers is the question. Because as we know in the trailer, we hear Callie ask her mom, I want to know what happened out there. And we see Shauna look like she's praying, clasping her hands, what have you. And I really want to know how she answers that question. In my own personal opinion as well, I think it's entirely possible that Callie will end up killing someone this season in order to help Shauna or possibly one of the other adult women to keep something hidden. Especially given what she knows now, because Shauna didn't want her involved in any of this. Whoa, you kind of put her smack dab in the middle of everything by, number 1, telling her everything you told her about Adam. Number 2, bringing her to Camp Green Pine and letting her witness all that and save your life when your friends were trying to kill you. That's a big one, in my opinion, the whole friends trying to kill you thing. So excited for Kat. Yes, Allison. She was promoted to a series regular for this season. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that too. And I also think that Lottie's fascination with Callie is going to come into play big time this season in some way. I've said it before. I don't think that comment that she made about Callie being powerful is something that we should just pretend never happened. I think it's something that is going to come back up. And I think that with the pictures that came out of Lottie visiting Shauna's house, that maybe that has something to do with Callie and her fascination with her. Obviously, I don't know. That's just pure speculation on my part at this point. But that's where my mind went when I saw the pictures anyways. So what are all of your thoughts on how Callie will come into play in the upcoming season and possibly beyond? Like I said, she's involved now because of what she witnessed in the season 2 finale. And with that being said, it's about time to wrap things up. I wanted to let you all know that a little closer to when season 3 actually premieres in February, that I'm going to do a season 2 recap live stream as a way to refresh everyone's memories ahead of season 3, because it's been a hot minute since season 2 has been on the air. And I planned on rewatching it anyway before season 3 came out, and I'm sure all of you did as well. Is there any chance that Callie could be the one to accidentally die in season 3? Oh my gosh. I never even considered that, Kim. Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's definitely possible, because I think the show is going to break Shauna by the end. I'm just convinced that it's going to take a lot from her. It's already taken a lot from her. So I think it's going to continue to take from her too. And I've speculated that maybe Jeff will die this season. Maybe it will be Callie and not Jeff. Either one would crush Shauna. So, but like I said, I don't have a concrete date set for the season 2 recap episode yet. When I figure that out, I'll be sure to let everyone know. I would love to see post-rescue, including Callie as a baby young child. Oh, yeah, that would be cool. I never even considered that before. I think Callie will play a huge role as a next generation Yellowjacket, and we will see the wilderness coming for her. Yes, I've seen that speculated a lot within the fandom, that she's going to be like the next generation Antler Queen kind of thing. And I don't know how I feel about that or how it would exactly work, but I mean, if they make it work, then I'm all for it. Jiff dies, we riot. Yep, absolutely. I will get my riding gear immediately. They did say the wilderness came with them. Yeah, yeah, they did. But if there's a topic that you'd like to hear me discuss in the meantime, I am open to any and all suggestions. I love talking about anything involving the show. So if there's anything that anybody wants to hear about, let me know and I'll see what I can come up with. But with that being said, thank you so much for joining me. Live streams are my absolute favorite thing to do. I appreciate you all buzzing in with me. So until I spill again.